Шановні пані та панове, сьогодні 19-й день російського вторгнення, і це 9-й рік війни. Мене звати Андрій Шевченко, я є координатором медіа-центру України. І від імені нашої команди я би хотів привітати усіх журналістів.
Here in the free and unbroken country of Ukraine. Today we are launching this media center to provide journalists with reliable and timely information. Moreover, we hope that this place will be a very useful first stop for foreign journalists coming into the country, seeking all sorts of assistance here on the ground. We do appreciate your work and your commitment to your audiences and to the truth. This media center is launched by Ukrainian media community, active citizens and volunteers. It is organized in close cooperation with the Office of President of Ukraine, with the Lviv Regional Military Administration and the City Council of Lviv. I would like to acknowledge tremendous work which was done by the Lviv City Council communication team led by Christina Lebed. As many of you know, they launched their media center in the very first days of the invasion. I would also like to thank our hosts here, Holden Emoji Fest, or the Fest Restaurants Group, and we can experience their warm hospitality, and I hope, well, this place is called Pravda in Ukrainian, which means truth in English. It's a very symbolic place, and I hope soon a day will come when we raise some good glasses here to the victory of freedom over darkness. So all this is another example how all Ukrainians come together these days to fight, to resist, and to achieve great things together. Today we will have several special events at this location. In a minute I will introduce Deputy Prime Minister Iryna Vereshchuk. She will be followed by Maksym Kozytskiy, head of the Lviv Regional Military Administration, and Andriy Sadovyi, Lviv mayor. At 1 p.m. we will have a video briefing from Kyiv on the death of your colleague, Brand Renaud, who was tragically killed by the Russians while he was filming civilian evacuation in the town of Irpin, close to Kyiv. At 2 p.m. we will be broadcasting a briefing from the Ministry of Defense with the latest update from the battlefield. And at 3 p.m. we'll have a press conference with Yuri Gusev, president of concern Ukroboronprom, and Viktor Andriy, director of the Lviv armored vehicle plant. They will tell us how they equip the Ukrainian armed forces with the necessary weapons. There might be more briefings throughout this day, so please do subscribe to our Telegram channel and follow our announcements. And now I'm very happy to introduce our first guest, Iryna Vereshchuk. She is Deputy Prime Minister and she's the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine and our Minister for Reintegration of the occupied territories. Those of you who will need translation from Ukrainian into English, please find your headphones in the left corner in your bag. Пані Ірино, доброго здоров'я.
Вітаю.
Пані Ірино, я перейду зараз на англійську, і я почну, I will start with the most precious issue, the humanitarian corridors in the war zone. What is the situation there?
На сьогодні діє, так, не всі з них запрацювали, на Київщині теж обстріли.
There were shellings in airstrikes as well.
Результати діяльності території наступного
As for the outcomes of our humanitarian corridors, we will be able to see what the situation is at about 8 p.m. But in general, the process is very challenging indeed. The invaders do not adhere to their obligations and commitments. They do not fulfill the ceasefire regime, and very often people are under hazard along those humanitarian corridors that are supposed to ensure their safety. but you were talking about the total number of people that were able to get out of the hell created by Putin in Ukraine. We're talking about almost 150,000 people. This is the total number of people that have already utilized humanitarian corridors and are in safety right now. We will collect some questions from the audience, but before we do so, I cannot hear you. Я тоді спробую англійською мовою. I cannot hear you. Okay, I will try to.
Пані Ірино, чи є новини про мерів українських міст, які полонені або викрадені російськими окупантами?
Мер Мелітополя Федоров знаходиться окупантами. Знаходиться, це не полон, це незаконне утримання, так, на сьогодні. Ми повідомили усі міжнародні однак на сьогодні результат такий.
Questions from the audience, please.
Deputy Prime Minister, hi, it's Haozie from Phoenix TV, Hong Kong. I have two questions to ask you. The first one is about the future of Donbass, because we have seen the rounds of the negotiation between Russia and Ukraine, and the future of Donbass is still the deadlock. I wonder, in the future, do you think the Ukraine government will still consider a referendum and let the residents to decide their future? My second question is about China. Because when I come to this country this time, I've been to this country for many times, but for this time, I did hear lots of people talking about China and the country's role to get involved in the future negotiation. In your government or in your cabinet, have your colleague decided or are talking about the issue seriously? And because for the current situation, the war between Russia and Ukraine is still controversial in Asia. We can see we can see some of the media saying that China is denying some disinformation about Russia to seek them military assistance. We also can see that India is considering to buy Russian oil gas at discounted price. So does your government want to say something to Asian countries at the moment? Thank you.
Так? Давайте почнемо з першого питання щодо можливості проведення. Але як ви знаєте, території ОРДЛО, це окремі райони Донецької та Луганської області, це і точно так, але умовно Донбас. Ми можемо обговорювати статусу вільної економічної зони, інших форм співпраці до територіального устрою.
Could you please give us the main ideas in English?
Щодо участі Китаю. Нещодавно я як гуманітарну мала трьохденну в Україні, тому що їхні по декілька сотень не могли б території, яка була
My question is to the technical team and to our interpreters. Do we need to switch technical channel?
Ту безвідповідальну поведінку Росії, коли вона фактично які мали мирно і заручники. Мені відомо про те, що до Путіна звертається до Москви.
Switch off the video. Or please, the main idea of the English, please.
На жаль,
Пані Ірино, я на секунду.
обіцяла і нічого не робила навзамін.
Пані Ірино, одну секунду.
Такою відповідальною буває Москва, коли це стосується її інтересів. Я знаю, що це знає, що натомість
Okay, while we are working on the technical issues, I'll invite more questions, please.
I'm sorry, but I would like to find from you the main idea of her by English, because it's impossible like that.
I'll just say that answering the first questions, Deputy Prime Minister reminded us of the constitutional provision in the Constitution of Ukraine, which prohibits to hold referendum on the issues of the territorial integrity of the country. And now I'll switch to the next question. Please, the lady right here, yes.
Thanks. Italian National Broadcasting Company. Today in Rome, Italy is guesting a meeting between you as Secretary Advisor Sullivan and the counterpart, the Chinese counterpart. And Russia, we know, is asking China to provide weapons. What do you expect from Italian negotiation and the role that Italy can have at this regard? Thanks a lot.
у Європейському Союзі, навіть членом НАТО, і те, що можна ініціювати, допомагають політичному, дипломатичному.
Okay, next question, please.
За що ми вам дякуємо?
Abdelmalek Al Arabi TV.
Sorry, Deputy Prime Minister is still finishing her answer.
Okay.
Росія офіційно звернулася, а Китай офіційно розглядає таку можливість дати зброю. Я переконаний, що далекоглядні лідери, які, як ви знаєте, нищівною і не були зараз її.
Just wait, I ask my question.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll be able to do it later. Let's get to the next question.
Thank you. Shawki Amin Abdelmalek Al Arabi TV based in London. It's Qatari channel. Actually, the foreign minister office of Qatar is in Russia. Do you rely on a role of Arabic words today to make end to this war? This is my first question. The second one, the Russian accused Ukraine that yesterday they attacked this center because there were soldiers from NATO who trained military soldiers here. Do you agree with this point of view of Russian? Thank you.
Для Росії має вона кордони якої до грудня 1991 року. Росія, яка сьогодні хоче в тому числі і має розуміти, що вона понесе повну відповідальність за вбивство на окупованому Маріуполі сотні мусульман, які просять і Росія без води, без їжі, без світла і без води.
Okay, we'll take one more question, and I'll maybe ask Deputy Prime Minister.
Поважає себе, поважає тих, хто не приходить до них, ой, нас захистить тих людей, захистить те, що вони цінують більше. Віру один одного, підтримує їх братів по
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I hope we got
I have a
the...
question. Yes.
захистити тих людей, які є з ними одновірцями і які страждають сьогодні від зброї, від
Okay.
And maybe
I can,
just on
yes.
this issue, I'll add
Avikon from Israel. Avikon from Israel. Over here.
Please let me jump in. I'll add one word in my personal capacity as a former Ukrainian ambassador to Canada. This training center in Yavoriv has seen a lot of wonderful men and women in uniforms from our partner countries who helped our armed forces to modernize. We know that yesterday Russia sent a very specific signal to the free world, to our NATO partners, and I think we read this message very clearly. Russia is sending the signal that no one should feel safe all over the planet. And I'll take the last question to Deputy Prime Minister, please.
Yes, there is a big storm in Israel over the issue of refugees. And what
Sorry,
do you think?
I don't see who's asking the question.
I am.
Okay, please
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes, Avikon from Israel.
Go ahead.
There is a big issue in Israel about the issue of refugees from Ukraine. What do you think about the treatment of Israel to the refugees that are coming from Ukraine?
Немає даних щодо ставлення громадян Ізраїлю до з України.
Okay, and I think we'll have to...
Але я знаю, що там люди, які теж живуть багато років і
Country for multiple years.
I think we'll have to stop.
Я думаю, що на цьому нам потрібно буде зупинитися. Я хочу подякувати пані віце-прем'єр-міністерці, пані Ірині Верещук.
Я в українському каналі зараз скажу. Пані Ірино, прошу.
Ні, я хочу завершити свій...
Просимо.
Я хочу сказати, що я переконана, що і гостинно допоможуть нашим дітям.
Everything.
Але ми чекаємо більшого
But we are waiting for a more significant signal from Israel. This should be the response to Russia's attack of Bab Yar. You remember that we had a lot of victims there, and you remember what kind of tragedy it was 70 years ago. And Russia has made a cynical strike on Bab Yar. So let Russia explain Israel why they do this. Добре, дуже дякую, шановна пані віце-прем'єр-міністрко. And we continue our briefing. Я хочу запросити особисто на цю сцену пана Максима Kozytskого, голову Львівської обласної військової адміністрації, а також Андрія Садового, міського голову цього чудового міста Львова.
Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Чи вам слово? Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Okay, I will start. So, good afternoon. I'm happy to see so many professionals who will tell the truth about what is happening in our country. I think that the major topic of yesterday was the attack at the International Center for Peacekeeping and Security and the fake that there were foreigners there. That is a real fake. It's much more difficult to fight the Ukrainian army than Ukrainian civilians, women and children, and then to disseminate fakes, because they are good at disseminating fakes, you know. There was not a single foreigner who was killed yesterday. You know, over the recent weeks, Lviv region has turned into a humanitarian hub, the hub providing assistance to the people who require that. And I would ask international organizations which deal with this on a professional basis to get involved in the process, because the major burden in helping the refugees, the displaced person, is on the shoulders of the region and the city. We would ask international organizations to enter our city and to share this burden with us. We are ready to help. We've businessmen help about 25,000 meals every day for people. We have more than 200,000 people in Lviv, and the same is the figure for the region in terms of displaced persons. About 1 million people have crossed the border over this period of time. And this is really the responsibility we are going to share with you and to help people. I guess we may definitely say that Russia is a beast, it's an enemy fighting not with the Ukrainian army but with the Ukrainian people. But on the other hand, we also need to be brave enough to tell that the whole civilized world is not very much in a hurry to help Ukraine. I think that we have here a lot of foreign journalists, and I would urge you, not your governments, but your people, your communities, your citizens, please tell them, tell the people in your countries, tell the citizens of your countries what is really happening here. Let them have rallies in support of the Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian people which has started fighting for the values declared by the whole civilized world. We were not afraid to take the weapons and to start protecting those values. I would like to express my gratitude for the assistance which is already provided, for the humanitarian assistance, for the military assistance. But unfortunately, for the moment, this is not enough. This is too little. Decisions should be really quick, rapid, decisive, timely, and clear. Your leaders, the leaders in your states, need to learn to pass decisions the way our president does. Support the Ukrainian people, do support the president, do support Ukraine. And that is going to be the first step to the punishment to the evil in the world. Speak to your governments, speak to your communities, to your companies. Let them leave the market of Russia. If banks are cut off from SWIFT, let them also cut off Sberbank. If they speak about currency revenues to Russia, let them stop building gas pipelines and letting Russian ships with oil into their ports. When companies leave the market, that Mordor market, let them stop paying salaries to people, because this could not be temporary sanctions and temporary restrictions. That would be real help. Ukrainians have started fighting against this blow, and we will keep standing like that with our brave spirit, with our love, the love for our own land. And we will protect the values. But it's difficult to do this if you don't have the advanced weapons. Close the sky over Ukraine, give the weapons, and we will definitely win together. Thank you. Dear colleagues, today, together with the head of Lviv Regional Military Administration, we have been to the military hospital, and we had some communication with the doctors there. And our great thanks go to all the HCPs, all the doctors that are helping our servicemen who were hit, who were wounded. Our task today is for every serviceman to get back to the army as soon as possible to protect the state. Yesterday, all of you and the whole community of our city and of Ukraine were absolutely shocked by the firing of the International Center for Peacekeeping and Security. But the firing, the explosions were heard on the Polish side, on the EU side. I had a lot of calls from Polish mayors, Polish politicians, and they start realizing that, in fact, the war is already waged at the border on the EU, and the decisions that need to be passed by the European Union and the whole democratic community of the world should be timely. They could not be delayed, not once, one day, but today and tomorrow. In spite of the most terrible situation, we have to live, and Lviv shows its maximum capacity to keep living. We have relaunched online studies in our schools in Lviv, and 76,000 of Lviv children have got registered for online studies, and approximately 1,000 is the number of children who have come here from other regions. Some of them study even at the school where they now live, while some of them have online studies while living in some private sector houses where they were accommodated or where they were hosted by our fellows, or where they lease apartments. More than 200,000 displaced persons are staying now in Lviv region. These are the people who have come from other regions. So this is one more city that has entered Lviv. You can see that Lviv keeps functioning. We have re-equipped all of our schools, theaters, gyms, sports complexes, and about 500 educational institutions, institutions of culture, sports are hosting displaced persons. And my great thanks go to all those who help with this, all the volunteers and all residents of Lviv, because now we are using the resources of the city and the resources of Lviv residents, and we really expect and hope to get some support from international organizations, because we do need some mobile houses, portable houses. We already have locations where we could place them. We need some mobile centers with the necessary sanitation and hygiene conditions, and we do need financial support. This is about $1 billion a day. $1 million a day. This is the cost of accommodation and meals for the people who have moved here, because this stands for foodstuffs and for some basics, some essentials. So far, we have managed to find everything that is necessary, but of course there is now the issue of security in Lviv, how safe Lviv is. You know that all the cities and towns in Ukraine are in the same situation, and normally people ask whether they have any fear. You know, we had fear on the 24th of February when the firing started in Lviv region and all the other regions. But when you do some job from morning till night or around the clock, you don't have any time to feel some fear, because today the job of each of us is extremely important, and your job, the job of all the representatives of mass media today, is of utmost importance, because your power is quite often much greater than the power of thousands of politicians who are afraid of something, who keep contemplating. While you have come here, you can see the real situation, the real picture, and you will push the world, trying to awaken it from the dream in which it used to be, because today in Ukraine the destiny of the whole world is, the future of the whole world is being resolved. So you are participants of this process, and thanks a lot to you for this. As far as security issues are concerned, we have 2 brigades of territorial defense forces, 103, 125. These are the units of the Ministry of Armed Forces, and we have 6,600. These are volunteer units. These are Lviv residents who go to patrol the streets, and they care about our security. You know, the level of crime has reached 0. Just some occasional cases. There are some cases when people inflate prices. In particular, this refers to accommodation prices, but we do some work about that, and a lot of hotels have started making their prices lower as compared to the beginning of the aggression. So that is just in brief what I meant to tell, and if you have any questions to the head of Lviv Regional Military Administration or to me, please, you're welcome. So we still have time for several questions, and for the journalists who have come here for the first time, I would like to tell that this media center is the joint initiative of indifferent representatives of the media community, volunteers, active residents, business, and different Ukrainian authorities. It shows how Ukrainians can unite to achieve great objectives. And my special thanks go to the communication team of Lviv City Council, because right from the first days of aggression, they managed to establish very high quality work with international journalists. Отже, запитання, напевно, розпочнемо з тих, хто ще не питав.
Newsy in the United States. I know that you've spoken about some of the defenses on the ground. Can you tell me what type of defense do you have for the sky here in Lviv? And have you spoken with your counterparts in Poland about the possibility of them providing some defense? We know that the United States has provided Patriot missiles to Poland. Do you think they could help in air defense if needed? Thank you.
Після вчорашніх розмов з польськими політиками вони починають розуміти, що ця ракета, яка впала за 20 кілометрів,
that has hit the territory which is 20 kilometers from the Polish border could also hit their ground. And I keep asking them the question, and what will you do in case it hits your territory? And they are shocked, they cannot answer. So I guess that air defense systems could probably be placed here for not a single missile to fall, to hit the territory. And maybe the fighters, which are highly debated now, and we know that there is a debate between the Polish authorities and Biden, could also be placed here. We require these decisions today. This is not the war of the 20th century. This is the war of the 21st century, which presupposes ability to react in time. It's all about the speed. And if the politicians of democratic countries worked, so to say, in advance and introduced immediate sanctions, we wouldn't have what we have today. The willingness, the wish not to close the sky causes 100 deaths an hour. People are dying, and for example, in Mariupol, we can speak about thousands of women, children, elderly people. And every politician who is contemplating or debating whether they should support Ukraine or not, they should realize that this is the area of their personal responsibility as well. Ще запитання?
Here, for France Bankat, I would like to ask you if there were international combatants yesterday in Lviv, and do you know where are of if they have died, because we have information, but we don't have this confirmation. So if you can tell us something.
Fake news.
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for the question. There was not a single foreigner who was killed yesterday in the attack against the International Center for Peace Building and Security. Alessandro Ricci, Sky Italia.
Of how safe is the city, and do you fear a siege in the city in the next future? And can we say that Lviv is the capital of the resistance in Ukraine? Thank you so much.
На сьогодні
Currently, Lviv is important, but all the other cities and towns of Ukraine are also important. Last year, together with the professionals from the British government, we worked with the resilience program. We are building resilience residence in Lviv, and this enabled us to better prepare. And when you come to Lviv today, you realize that 200,000 and more people have come to the city additionally, but still it functions, and you can understand how. Because if there was such a situation in any city of the European Union, there would be a collapse. That's because we didn't speak a lot about that, but we were getting ready for this situation. We arranged the ability to provide water with no electricity. We bought diesel generators, we bought drugs, so we were getting ready for tough times. And today we have perfect coordination with all the mayors. Well, we don't know whether a missile is going to hit Lviv tomorrow. Nobody knows this. Lviv is the city which is under the protection of UNESCO, but we could see as Taliban was destroying monuments of architecture in Afghanistan. So I think that what the Russian aggressor is doing now is equal to what Taliban did in Afghanistan, because firing civilians, peaceful women, children, this is an atrocity, and everybody can see this online. I'm staying in Lviv, my family is staying in Lviv, and I do believe that in the nearest future we will rebuff the enemy from our land, and we will win. When we have fear, we need to start working to do our job in a perfect way, the way you are doing it, since the whole world knows about Ukraine, because you are not afraid and you are doing your best.
And I have the following question. What about the number of casualties at the Yavoriv training ground? Has the number increased? What is their condition? Is there a dire need for blood or some other medical supplies in the local hospitals? Thank you for your question. The numbers articulated yesterday are the final numbers that we have on our hands. There is a perpetual need for medications in the hospitals, but we don't really have any urgent need. We continuously support all the wounded and injured, so we don't really have any urgent needs. But as for blood and blood components, we have multiple blood donors, and I would like to express my gratitude to those people that care, because we have long lines of people who are ready to donate their blood to the local hospital. So I'm very grateful to everyone who is ready to contribute. We do have some people in severe condition. So as of this morning, we had 10 patients in severe condition. Мене звати Мусабі, я із іракського телебачення.
Ask you as a Ukrainian citizen, not as a politician, when you are expecting.
Коли ви очікуєте припинення війни, тому що зараз ведуться обговорення між Україною та Росією, але ми наразі так і не знаємо. Але я хочу до вас зараз звернутися як до громадян цього міста, як до громадян України. Коли ви очікуєте, щоб зупиниться і нарешті прийде край війні?
Що ми видавимо ворога з нашої землі, і він буде сплачувати велику компенсацію за ці великі збитки, які він завдав. І я думаю, що весь цивілізований світ
for the losses that we suffered, and I'm sure that the entire world will be by our side, because the sanctions that have been imposed will yield their positive fruits. The city mayor has his own competence. The governor of Lviv region has his competence in area of responsibility. We have the president of Ukraine. This president was elected by the population, and the president is authorized to make the relevant decisions. My area of responsibility includes the safety and security of the city, and I want to make sure that whoever comes here feels at home, and we will accommodate as many refugees and IDPs as necessary. I have faith in our victory. The stronger we fight, the sooner we oust the enemy out of our territory. They will just give up. They will just surrender because they don't really stand a chance. I think that this war will last for quite a while because I know the insolence and impudence of Russia. So I think that we need to prepare for several months. But this is my objective opinion.
Of Germany. One question for the governor. The New York Times said on March 11th an officer of the Ukrainian army quoting that there were at least 1,000 foreigners trained in Yaros in the training center. So how is it that there are no dead among the 35 dead? And the other question to Mayor Sadovyi, we heard yesterday from a colleague that he heard a loud explosion here at 6 o'clock in Lviv, and he was speculating whether you shot down a rocket here in Lviv at 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday. And I would like to know whether this is true.
Pravda. Well, thank you for your question. At the Yavoriv International Center for Peacekeeping and Security, there are no casualties among foreign service members. These are the fakes propagated by the Russian Federation. As of today, we don't really have any information about that. Are there foreigners there? Definitely, because this is the International Center for Peacekeeping and Security. Since 2014, when the war was waged, we have had foreign trainers there who have supported our service members with training in the military strategy and tactics. On the territory of the city of Lviv, we don't really have a single military facility. We have refugees, a ton of them. We are the largest hub for refugees globally right now, and we have locals who are taking care of the stable functioning of our country. But once again, I cannot really make any predictions about what the target is for the missile. I mean, this is a missile that was basically delivered from Russia, and then it was launched from the Black Sea. You cannot really make any forecasts in this regard. Who can find a rationale for the shellings and airstrikes on Mariupol? I'm in perpetual communications with the city mayor of Mariupol, and the city is basically decimated. It's wiped off the face of the planet. 400,000 people. All these people are held hostage. So different scenarios are possible. But if we concentrate on the downsides, if we concentrate on the bad things, then you will not be able to work. I'm always optimistic. Recently, I had a conversation with one father who had to bury his son. There were tears welling up in his tears, trickling down his face, but he felt proud for his son because his son paid the price of his life for Ukraine. And this is something that I reiterate on multiple occasions. Right now, you are bearing witness to the birth of a new nation, the birth of a new country. The first 30 years of our independence were labor. And right now, this baby country is being born. It's a beautiful country, and each and every EU member state will take pride in the fact that we are together, that we are part of the European community, because we are demonstrating something that the world did not expect of us. Everything is possible because this self-organization and self-discipline are part and parcel of our genetic code, and we are demonstrating the best qualities that we have in our country. I'm a great optimist, and a big thank you to all of you who are not afraid of coming here at this dire time. You are strong people. Дар'я Кучер, твоє місто.
В області активно закликають
Media the Lviv region is encouraging businesses and employees to veer back to work, but kindergartens and daycare centers are not operating. So are you planning to reopen kindergartens and daycares? Is there a program for refugees, for their children to be able to go to kindergartens? As for the dry law, no alcohol law, there's a word has it that this law will be revoked on the territory of the Lviv region.
Якщо брати Львівську область і місто Львів, ми маємо різні регіони, які
Gardens and daycare centers, we have different regions in Ukraine that are in a different situation. Here in Lviv region, we are ready to reopen kindergartens and daycare centers, and we have a mixed approach to school education right now. So we want our schools to resume both online and offline studies where it's possible. As for the dry law or no alcohol law, we haven't really issued any new rules or regulations in terms of the prohibition on alcohol sales. So during the curfew, while we still have the curfew, alcohol is not allowed. But once again, this is something that can be regulated at regional level. We received a lot of requests for explanation and clarification, and I think that yesterday or the day before yesterday, we explained it to the media about the curfew and how businesses should operate. I also want to call upon all the businesses to revert to their operations, because it's about employment for people, it's about paying taxes. It's about having some sort of feeling of normalcy, that even a country at war can ensure proper conditions for its citizens. So I think it will be a lease of new life for everyone. So I want to encourage everyone to get work to, because we need to support the front line and we need to ensure favorable conditions for all the people coming in here. Right now, the bulk of businesses from other parts of the country are moving to Lviv. We are doing our utmost to support them. Fortunately, we had some free production facilities and land plots, and right now Lviv is like a large beehive. Multiple refugees and IDPs have moved here. Some of them have already found new jobs here. We keep receiving some requests and information from the local businesses. Upwards of 5,000 men among refugees and IDPs got registered at the local military draft office. As for kindergartens, as I have already mentioned, we resumed school education. Minute in, minute out, the number of registered refugees and IDPs is increasing. You know that a lot of kindergartens and schools are being used as accommodation places for refugees right now. But I think that we will have some kindergartens open, especially for the children of those parents who have to go to work and cannot take care of their children during the daytime. As for the sale of alcohol, I have not really received any requests or petitions from the local businesses with a request to cancel this prohibition. If there are such requests, then please let me know how can we consume alcohol if we have people dying. І останнє запитання, будь ласка.
What are the possible targets in Lviv? I don't mean in Lviv Oblast region, just in city. Main targets.
Ну, по-перше, є система протиповітряної.
Well, first of all, we have the air defense system. I'm sure that our military will fulfill their duty diligently. Well, but how can I know? I mean, I cannot really predict what might come to the mind of the invaders. I think that we all are in the same conditions. I continue my work. Can you predict the behavior of the actions of the enemy? They might even target Croatia tomorrow if they want to. I mean, who knows what might come to their mind? Everyone in the world is in the same conditions. We must send the Russian bear back to its den, and this is something that we can do together. To sum up our briefing, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who have come to Lviv region and the city of Lviv. I have a big request to all of you. Please transmit the truth about this war to your people, ordinary people. They should support us. They should stand squarely with us because we are struggling, but we will stand up until the last breath that we have. Never give up, only victory, glory to Ukraine. Наскільки я розумію,
Military administration Maksym Kozytskiy and the city mayor Andriy Sadovyi will be available for follow-up interviews or comments for a short time. This completes our very first briefing, and I would like to remind what events we have ahead of us today. In several minutes, we will have a video briefing from Kyiv on the death of Brent Renaud, journalist who was tragically killed by the Russians yesterday while he was filming the civilian evacuation in the town of Irpin. At 2 p.m., we'll be broadcasting a briefing from the Ministry of Defense with the latest update from the battlefield. And at 3 p.m., right here, we will have Viktor Vereshchuk, director of the Lviv Armored Vehicles Plant, and we'll have Yuri Gusev, president of Concern Ukroboronprom. They will tell us how they equip the Ukrainian armed forces with the weapons that should complement the bravery of the Ukrainian men and women in the uniforms. Thank you very much for joining us for this briefing. Please stay safe and stand with Ukraine.